Okay, thank you, John. And that you may not see behind the scenes, or you may, some of you all. John Curl is our host for this webinar and this reading. And I am your super duper moderator. So I am just delighted to welcome all of you to this webinar, our second reading of the anthology Building Socialism. And hope you enjoy and are illuminated in some way by the poetry that we'll be hearing today. I'm going to start out with the prefatory that was written by the wonderful Jack Hirschman, with a little bit of an input by his committee, which includes John and me and Scott Bird. And here is the prefatory to the book, Building Socialism. Because with the murder of George Floyd and the pouring into the streets of millions, as if to say that capitalism was the root cause of injustice and inequality, as if to say that this country's refusal to jail the leaders of the Ku Klux Klan and the Nazis who demonstrated at Charlottesville, and to insist that racial bigotry is not free speech, is among the root causes of police brutality. Because the Revolutionary Poets Brigade of San Francisco has already published 6 annual anthologies under the title of Overthrowing Capitalism, and this year voted to change the title to Building Socialism, realizing that words like socialism or communism are among the most detested words in the lexicon of the thug billionaire president in power in the USA, and also out of deference to the motion of Bernie Sanders. For all of these reasons, this year's anthology presents poetry and graphics related to all of the themes suggested here: overthrowing capitalism, building socialism, the coronavirus siege, George Floyd. The poem of his last words was given last week. And the unstoppable momentum of a fierce new class of young people toward a new system of governance with real and genuine equality, and with necessities provided to each and to all. And this was signed by the editors Jack Hirschman, Scott Bird, John Curl, and myself, Karen Melander-Magoon. So with that, we proceed to the second of our series of anthology readings. And I am going to, now that I don't know exactly who's here and who isn't, I will call, and as soon as I find there's somebody who's not here yet, I will move on to the next one. So is Dr. Ayo Ayoola-Amale here? Please unmute if you are here, Ayo. Okay, she missed last week and I promised to call on her first. Next would be William Taylor Jr. I don't think I saw him here yet. So I am going to move on to Yolanda Catzalco. Oh, wait a minute, before, Janet Cannon is here, right? Janet Cannon, yes, you're gonna be next. Janet Cannon is the author of 3 chapbooks, Day Laborers, Last Night in New York, and Percipients, and has read her poetry all over the country. And she is now reading internationally here. And that would be the wonderful Janet Cannon will start us out with her poetry. Janet?
Unmute here, yes. Thanks, Karen. So my poem is called Now Goes Viral. Time for now poses as a death threat on the edge of despair. Inside today's stressed waiting, we long for a hug that now could kill if the vicious virus has its way with us. We won't be here to wake up with the next sunrise for now, though we try to channel hope inside the hours of full stop ambiguity. Waiting for clarity and light anywhere at night, she hovers in a fever to see beyond the darkness for tomorrow, to be here now, instead of a wish list on the other side of maybe. Thanks.
Thank you, Janet. I love that ending, that last phrase, the wish list on the other side of maybe. Great. Thank you, Janet. And I had promised Mauro Fortissimo to come on early because he's worried about a possible electric stoppage out there in Half Moon Bay. So Mauro is an Argentinian-born Italian American who moved to San Francisco, and maybe that I'm never sure of everybody's location now, but he moved to San Francisco where he works and resides. He's a poet, musician, and painter. And I've seen much of his work, very, very imaginative. I did a reading with him once where he talked about boxes, and he had all these boxes. And I have seen his work even in City Hall for the Day of the Dead. Just an amazing artist. So I am very, very honored to present to you Mauro Fortissimo, and please tell us where you are right now.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, thank you, Karen. I'm in Half Moon Bay, bit south of San Francisco, 30 minutes south. And yes, there is a heat wave and PG&E might shut electricity. So thank you for letting me read before that happens. Maybe it doesn't happen. This is my poem. It's called 100 Seconds to Midnight. Comrades, blow the whistle, sound the alarm. Capitalism got the virus. Wall Street tested positive. We must act. No mask big enough to cover their facades. It is time. All banks nationalize. Eminent domain to corporations. Universal healthcare. Unemployed of the world, unite. Some always knew people and planet before profits. The greedy others kept accumulating gold in their drawers, going on luxury cruises, traveling first class. Now the fever of competition got the chills of the market, all sick. No life support for thee, no respirators to polluters. The oily industry bankrupt, we dance. This government of buffoons depose, we sing. A new dawn is at hand, not much time left till midnight arrives. So hurry and plant new gardens, sow the seeds of equality, resist the urge of protection from the past. There is no going back to the yesterday's percentages. If we all stop and be quiet for 12 seconds, counting, that will leave us with just 88 to carry on, like the keys of a piano. What would you play then? A march, an anthem, the blues, more Chopin, or Bach? Thank you.
I wanted to, yes, Mauro, thank you so much. I didn't realize you didn't hear me say what a lovely phrase, the kiss of the piano. And I wanted to thank you again for, glad that you came through. Hope you keep your electricity in Half Moon Bay. And thank you so much for your wonderful poetry.
Thank you.
Next, I see that Dr. Ayo has come in. So I'm delighted to introduce to you Dr. Ayo Ayoola-Amale. I hope I'm saying that right. Ayo Ayoola-Amale. She is an African poet from Nigeria, activist, lawyer, educator, member of the World Poetry Movement, and a spoken word performance artist. So please unmute Ayoola, and we are looking forward to hearing your poetry. This is Dr. Ayo Ayoola-Amale.
Thank you, Karen. Hello, everyone. My poem, More Than a Starving Crawl Space. Then came these little people. They opened the door like thunder and stormed like rescued hoarded dogs. Scavengers with wings bigger than the red-tailed hawks on a rampage. It's all me, 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 everything. self-interested, capitalist hippos, social contract forgotten, climate murderers, universal healthcare and social welfare bankrupted. They are few, we are many. These little obese people burning to live a period of worldly awareness eclipsed. It's all me, 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 everything. Blood money, pain, and decay. Fascist talk of several blows. Fascist hold-on of quite a lot of smarts. Fascist hooligan of numerous wars. Fascist vandals, fat in clouds. It's all me, 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 everything. They are few, we are many. The real people, public spirited, beat the horrific down to size, got the government of clowns thrown out. We will have the world whole, mind and heart, liberated from heavy materialism, chasing too few things on the real part of humanity. Wrap us in an amazing dream. They are few, we are many. Thank you for your attention and time. And thanks to the Revolutionary Poets Brigade of San Francisco for the opportunity to read. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ayo Ayoola-Amale. Me, climate murderers, Lord money, fascist government of clowns. They are few and we are many. What a wonderful message. Thank you so much for coming and giving that great message.
Thank you, Karen.
Can't beat it. Thank you. And next we have, I'm trying to see who's here and who isn't. Is William Taylor Jr. here? Not yet. Okay. I am going to go on then to Yolanda Catsalco, who I know I see she's there, and she lives in San Francisco and has had dialogues with Nelson Peary in San Francisco, Chicago, and New York. She's a member of the Revolutionary Poets Brigade, a wonderful poet who has been with us working hard on social activism in her poetry for a long time. And it gives me a great honor to introduce to you Yolanda. We don't see your video. Are you there? Yolanda, your name is there. Okay. Yolanda, can you unmute? If I don't hear from you, I'm going to have to move on.
Can you
Oh,
hear
there,
me?
great. Whoa, yay.
Can you hear me?
It's a little faint.
Can you hear me?
Barely. You want to
hear me?
try? Yolanda, let's see if we can hear you. If not, I'll read your poem, but I'd love to have you do it.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear everybody? You think so?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead, Yolanda. Dare to dream.
Okay, can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. No, Dare to dream, quote unquote, seize the time. Black Panthers used to say, now is the moment to build a new world, a communist world, where today we could have an economy based on people's needs, not profits, based on prioritizing inherent spiritual and survival needs, where we could open up factories to safely produce food, medical needs, books that have already been published like Miles' Wages, Prices, and Profits, like Karl Marx's Capital, so people can read and discuss how the capitalist class has accumulated profits through exploitation and oppression. It started with catching runaway slaves, and to protect plantations, culminating in cultivation of agriculture, racism, and capitalism's final days. Dare to dream, to have a vision that humanity will triumph over greed, over courting, over man's hatred and violence towards his neighbors because of darker skin or national or sexual orientation, religion, lack of ownership of the property of a house, or being homeless or poor. Only a communist government of the people, for the people, by the people, can be done to impress society free from want, free from fear, free to cross borders and not get deported, free to stay in a country that has become home to us all.
Thank you, Yolanda. For those of you who had difficulty hearing it, I think I'll read the last three stanzas again because they're very powerful. Dare to dream, to have a vision that humanity will triumph over greed, over hoarding, over man's hatred and violence towards his neighbors because of darker skin, or national or sexual orientation, religion, lack of ownership of the property of a house, or being homeless or poor. Only a communist government of the people, for the people, by the people, can be the instrument for a society free from want, free from fear, free to cross borders and not get deported, free to stay in a country that has become home to us all. So thank you, Yolanda. Sorry we couldn't hear you that well, but I hope that your message got across. It's a very strong message. Thank you, Yolanda. And next, if Giancarlo Campagna is here, I don't think so. Yes, Giancarlo Campagna?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's why I'm glad I'm saying these things. Okay, welcome and delighted that you're here. As is that we have in our intro for him, he lives with his beautiful wife, Renee Saucedo, and their boy, Carlo, and works at Safeway in the deli department and is a fantastic poet. So please, Giancarlo, we look forward to your words.
Thank you. I have a question. I'm also reading the poem of another poet, the Italian poet. So I'm wondering, do I go in?
Yes, that's fine. Read your poetry and then read the poetry of Antonella Iaschi.
Yeah.
Born in Italy, a communist, she writes poems and novels for the love and human rights of the people. And her latest book is Cross of Libya. Yeah, I'm happy to put the two of you together so you can just go with continuity from one to the other. That's great. Thank you.
Okay, I will do that. I'll begin with my poem. Must not confuse rage. The killing of Black men, so constant like a staple commodity. Pogroms go on daily. Incarcerate the immigrant, come up from the South. Make sure hunted, then caged interminably. The refusal of the human need to live in peace must be subject to some rule of civility. No other way. Don't think, don't feel, just breed and buy. Don't look, don't act in favor of. Locked in prisons, each of us to a prison. Completely unaware of the heart, unlettered in the ways of, Baldwin admonished. Crippling the days of unbearable loss, to have pictures only, to have memories which speak of magnitude and love. The brother, the son, the friend, lived in time, fashioned to familial, human life inscrutable, imponderable substance, each to each reflect coiled universe, killing and rape, mayhem almighty, loose tongue and flare for convenient, mudslung and blood undone, trickling into gutters from holes and backs made by bullet time, rhythms of murder, timpani or djembe counting order of roll call, names of the disappeared, kneel in space, the kneeling, reverent to a brutal God, snuffs breath, crushes artery. How long the voices cry? We shall overcome, sung by the riverside, where the sword and shield placed long ago. Heart whispers more of us can stand, burn down structures by orange blue light, ache of sorrow, burn down the meanings, the insults, slaps and stabs by pen and gun. Remember him who is slain. Remember him.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I know you're going on to the Italian poet, but I just want to back up and remember your words before we move on. Completely unaware of the heart, a coiled universe, names of the disappeared kneeling in space. Just those are great visions of despair. I want to thank you for that. And now go on to giving us Antonella Iaschi.
Thank you. I will read Antonella's poem in the Italian. I'm of Italian ancestry, but it's not my mother tongue, unfortunately. And I will then go on to read it in English. Il ape che fa il miele. La chiamano pandemia, questa crudele livella. Semina morte ovunque senza chiedere passaporte. Porta paura nelle strade, senza nemmeno apparire. A quote come un'atomica, senza sventolare bandiere. Il mondo a camion di bare che viaggiano furtivi, come volessero nascondere l'impotenza evidente. E in tutto questo la gente realizza il proprio destino. Chi morirà sotto un ponte
Are you there still? You're going to read that in English too? Giancarlo, are you there? John, can you see if he's there? I'm not hearing anything. Is that just me?
I think we might have lost him, Karen. So I'm going
Okay. Well, he got the whole Italian poem, I think. We heard the Italian, we just didn't hear the English.
if
So if he
comes
yeah.
back, we can finish it.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
I said, if he comes back, then,
Oh, yes, of course. If he comes back, he can then read that. Yes. So maybe we can keep track if he gets back online. Okay, so the next poet will be Giulio Colombo. who is a neuroscientist and researcher at the University of Milan, Italy, who loves poetry, nature, and humankind. So we look forward to greeting you, Giulio Colombo.
Can you hear me?
Yes, wonderful.
Okay. Should I read it in the Italian or the English
In
version?
Italian and then in English, if it's not too long,
Okay.
sure, that'd be great.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm starting with the Italian one. Fino a che punto, sole, brucerai? Quante forme troverai nelle ombre di una mano, inchiodata ad una croce? Non essere troppo timido per guardare, non avere così tanto timore dello spirito. Presto o tardi, in alto, nella nebbia fangosa del mattino, il tuo confine comparirà alla vista e i pesci del fondo del mare canteranno nella lingua che non sei riuscita a imparare, per dirti dove andare a salvarti. Fino a quando, uomo, masticheranno le fauci ancora e ancora, con 1000 quadrifogli che ruotano e milioni di corrieri che sfrecciano sulla sabbia di un mare deserto? Di quale argilla costruirai le tue case quando ogni stampo sarà disfatto? Nessuno rinnoverà tutto con la sola forza delle parole. E se nessun uomo sulla terra, perché non una donna? Di che materia sarà fatta la tua gloria? Di rabbia e rancore la farò. Per chi mi incatenò in schiavitù e mi lasciò inerme sul suolo di ogni mattino. Vizio mai vietato di tutti i santi, male mai punito di ogni potere, amore mai visto di tutti i viventi. Fino a che punto, sole, mi brucerai prima di essere libera? And then the English one. How far, sun, will you burn? How different the shapes you'll find in the shadows of a hand nailed to a cross. Don't be too shy to look. Don't be so afraid of the soul. Sooner or later, high in the muddy morning mist, your horizon will come to sight, and deep sea fishes will sing in the language you failed to learn, to tell you where to go to save yourself. How long, man, will the mouth be choking over and over like thousands of touring plovers and millions of running plovers over the sand of a Sahara Sea? Of what clay you will build up your homes when every mold is broken? No one will make it new by the only force of the words. If no man on earth, what about woman? Of what matter will you make up your glory? Of anger and hatred I will, for who caged me in slavery and left me sick on the ground of every morning, unforbidden vice of every saint, unpunished evil of any power, unseen love of every living. How far, sun, will you burn me before I am free? Thank you. Thank you so much.
Wonderful, powerful, Julia. How far will you burn me until I am free? And
Yeah.
know the different shades in the shadow of a hand nailed to the cross. Wow, so many powerful images. Thank you so much. And
Thank
I
you.
want to thank you. So, yes, and thank you for being here. Where are you right now, Julia?
I'm in Milan now.
In Milan.
Yes, it's 8:30 in the evening.
Yes,
So,
yes. That's a good time. Thank you so much for coming all the way from Milan. Delighted to have you here. Very powerful. I
Thank
wanted
you.
to
Thank you so
mention
much.
there were some people who were wondering why they're not on the screen. We have attendees to this as a webinar, and only the people who are reading will be seen on the screen in little squares, like my square here. So maybe that needed to be clarified. So anyway, thank you very much, Julia. And we move on to Niloufar Talebi is on screen, and he, well, I don't know, can you make yourself on screen, Niloufar? That would be yes, wonderful. She is a poet and translator and will be reading a poem from her father, Matthew Talebi, who immigrated to the United States in 1984 from Iran. A retired ophthalmologist, he began writing socio-political poetry in 2017, not so long ago, and he lives in Los Angeles. So we welcome Niloufar Talebi. So wonderful that you're here, and look forward to the poetry. Thank you.
Greetings, everybody, for having us. I'm delighted to read a poem by my father. What I like about his poetry that I learned from is that he brings his Persian language poetry sensibility to English language poetry. A word with COVID-19. Dedicated to doctors and nurses of the front lines. A guest or intruder, scarier than a meteor, on flights from west, east, or north, killing our blossoms and flowers, whether in cities or prairies, tiny clumps of molecular matter, indiscriminately you cause murder. Tears of fathers, mothers, sisters, you do not feel their sorrows, have no ears, eyes, or heart. You are devoid of life and love, a dead particle of our nature, not aware of your torture. The energy and power of matter, capable of so much disaster. A member of our nature family, with no one you are friendly. Caged us in forced quarantine against our freedom doctrine. You prefer lung bubbles to multiply. In the air you float, can't fly. Invisible to our eyes, not even a bacterium, they call you a virus in the germ spectrum. You naked on the offensive, we masked on the defensive. No purpose, no goal by essence, perhaps a wanderer in existence. I guess I understand your innocence, but I see you are deadly to the populace. Social chaos, loss of lives from your intrusion, fundamental transmutation. We are learning matter and energy is the whole of nature and universe, engine of creation, evolution, and destruction. You proved to us that people are generators of wealth, not buildings with machines. Now, we've had enough of you, you modern black plague, and we ask of you, go away, go away.
Beautiful, thank you. Thank you, Niloufar, so much. Yeah, the invisible virus, naked on the offensive, while we are masked on the defensive. And you describe this virus as a wanderer in the world and ask it to go away. Very, very poignant. Thank you for reading your father's poetry. Just feel very honored to have these wonderful poets. Doreen Stock, poet, memoir artist, translator, lives in Fairfax, California, and is publishing a chat book of poems called Tango Man. She also translated poetry by Amparo Alconada, a practicing attorney in Buenos Aires, and the poem Terruño was inspired by her father's death. So if I haven't been clear about all that you're going to say and read, Doreen, I ask you to the podium, and we look forward to your poetry. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you see me? Can you hear me?
Okay. I'd like to thank Agneta Falk for discovering this poem online and suggesting it to the editors, whom I'd also like to thank. I'm reading from Fairfax, California, sitting on unceded lands of the coastal Miwok. The poem for Susie in Minneapolis was composed for my cousin Susan, who's politically active in downtown Minneapolis. And I'll read that first. I'm going to try to read it masked because it really belongs to the poem. If you can't hear me, let me know. I saw America flaming in her COVID mask, struggling to break free of all the racist pain that marks her bankrupt passage through the pandemic and the ruined generations of her multicolored love. She who once broke free of one tyrant to land herself under another. I saw America flaming in her COVID mask, struggling to break free of all the racist pain of old forms of hatred's two best friends, violence and decay. I saw police lined up in her cities, suddenly taking a knee opposite the brave and kneeling protesters. Knee to cement, the only gesture beginning to redeem upon the knee that pressed so hard upon George Floyd's life. The moment it flew from him, it became this torch to set America marching through her cities, gathering in her squares, flaming in her COVID mask, struggling to break free.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Doreen.
And now
Yeah.
I'd like to screen share, if I may.
Sure.
This is a translation from the Spanish, the Argentine Spanish, of Amparo Casasbelas Alconada. And Marcelo,
just a moment. You're going to have to let John have a moment to allow you to
want me to
screen
play
share.
the video you sent?
No, I've got it here. I'm going to try to screen share it.
Poema de Amparo Casasbellas Alconada. Terruño. Soy el poeta demorado de las campiñas del alma, que rasga la hollada tierra de tu pena, madre chiquita, purísima indefensión. Voy venciendo los senderos, galopando en tu llanto de niña color de sol, una de luna y otra de arrullo. 2 campanitas trae el alfarero para coser mi cuna de barro. Apretado de añoranza, soy el alba embravecida, derrocando desalmados. Escrito por su autora en Patio del Cabildo de Buenos Aires, 11 de marzo de 2006. Traducido a inglés por Doreen Stock con la colaboración de quien les habla, Marcelo Holot.
Native land. I'm the late poet of the soul's countryside that rips the hollow land of your grief, little mother, pure defenselessness, galloping in your tears. I'm conquering the paths of a sun-colored girl, one of the moon and another of murmuring. 2 bells, bring the potter to bake my clay cradle tight with longing. I am the raging dawn, toppling heartlessness. Thank you so much for all of your attention.
Oh, that is beautiful. And it was interesting that you did the first with a mask to show reading in a mask. And I saw America Flaming, Violence and Decay. And the fact that you are reading from, as I understand it correctly, Miwok land in Fairfax. That was very rich, particularly this week, which is Indigenous Peoples Week. And the Miwok were an incredibly important part of Northern California. And so I appreciate that and salute you for that testimony. So yeah, we've got a lot to learn. Thank you, Doreen, and thank you so much for sharing the screen and sharing the poetry. Just very, very wonderful to have all of that too. And Patricia Hicks, we welcome her as a writer, teacher, community youth advocate from Seaside, beautiful place, Seaside, California. She believes fiercely in creative expression and transformative language arts as powerful tools for self-liberation. Patricia.
Thank you. Good morning to everyone. I am actually coming to you from Ohlone, Costanoan, Esalen land. So I was happy to hear that the Miwok land is getting a name check. I want to also say thank you to Mr. John Curl for including me in this anthology, and what a wonderful honor it is to be among poets who know what it is to pull these verses out alone. Just to be in community and share is tremendously healing for me this morning. My poem is called Say Their Names. We know you hear them. Dedicated to Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, and all the singing unsung. America is a failed state. There, I said it. The shining city on a hill, that's no city. It's a shrine to cotton paper built on poached land, stolen backs, and buried languages. A trilogy of theft. No shine, just the glare of carnival mirrors deflecting the sun, throwing back the light of scrutiny and truth. And that's no hill. It's a sky-high stack of ashes and marrow, dirty parchment, and bold-faced lies. That hill is a mountain of guts and ghosts, a teetering ladder of tombstones bound up in a murder book and called history. So many murders. Murder is America's breakfast cereal, bullet-sized bites that never get soggy and turn the milk a sweet, sweet pink. A dead prize in every box. Collect them all. America is hell-bent on collecting us all. America loves a stockpile. Guns, pills, baby teeth, power tools, tiki torches, miniature flags, caskets, you name it. There's a storehouse somewhere ready to ship. So much shipping, but never for free. It takes mounds and pallets of salt and blood to pay for this many ships. Santa Maria, Amistad, Enola Gay, missions and manifests, ports and bases, bombs and troops and places to go to show them the way. America is not a place, it is a way. a way dependent on making enough dead to keep its ever grinding maw alive, a way of setting fireworks to detonate over battle feasts, gassing the clouds and muting the North Star, a way of breaking open every chrysalis before the wet-winged morpho is ready to unfold, of hunting rare birds to extinction so ladies can lunch in fabulous hats, of stringing up truth tellers like South Sea pearls on silk, of barging in and shooting us while we sleep, of crushing our necks with blue force while we beg for air. America loves to hear us beg, to threaten us by annihilation with annihilation by 911, relishes the power to fan our anguish into obliterating riot fire, watches us die in technicolor and says, wow, that's terrible, every single time. America is not what it pretends to be. We've been knowing. For us, the dead never stop singing. And we know you hear them too. We know. You hear them. We know. You hear them too. Thank you.
Thank you, Patricia. The dead never stop singing. And you started with all the singing unsung. Beautiful. The trilogy of theft, which you included the burial of languages, dead prizes, stockpiles of weapons, caskets, Santa Maria Amistad, and America is not a place, but a way. Very powerful poem. Thank you so much, Patricia. Wonderful. These words, these thoughts, these inspirations. What a, I just, there's nothing like poetry, is there? Okay, we have come to the wonderful Bobby Coleman, San Francisco poet, attorney, musician living here in San Francisco. He was active last year when the world was open in creating events for the 12 pianos, which is, I don't remember which year, the 5th, the 8th, he might tell you, year that we have seen 12 pianos in Golden Gate Park, an amazing, amazing festivity. 12 pianos tucked into little coves and nooks and crannies all throughout Golden Gate Park, and just an inspiration. And so San Francisco, I like to think. And so I welcome Bobby Coleman to the podium with his wonderful poetry. Bobby?
Well, thank you, Karen. Thank you, everyone. Can you see and hear me? I hope so. And I want to clarify that introduction, which is very lovely, that I am being mistaken with someone else. Perhaps Mauro, who spoke earlier, has a wonderful partner named Dean Mermel, who is also a writer and performer and mystic. And he is responsible for the 12 pianos and the film and the flower piano in the park. And I have participated in that. That is true. With many other wonderful performers, but I think you're thinking of someone else.
No,
So
Bobby, I'm interrupting now, which is extraordinarily contra to protocol, but I wanted to say, I said you participated. I said you were active in. I knew you weren't you weren't the creator of the 12 pianos. I'm aware of that. But
well, very good.
I thought it was beautiful that you were involved in it.
And if you saw that, I will acknowledge that I did 2 performances, 3 actually, with several of our friends who have been active in our brigade's events. So let's leave it at that. I am, in fact, because it doesn't appear, and I should explain, I want to first say that I am, of course, reading from unceded Ramakush Ohlone land. And I represent, of course, the Ladino diaspora of the Sepharim, and that's Ladino, 1,000 years of a mystic lyricism in a nearly extinct tongue, part of our universal effort to grow together and learn from the whole family of the world, of nature and spirit. I want to get on to the poem, but I am in fact a poet and editor and the co-founder of the Revolutionary Poets Brigade and the current managing editor of Jambu Press, Jambu, in San Francisco. And I am not a square. I am outside the box. We are all not squares. We're not squares. I appear in this video and audio square, but the whole timeline of the Revolutionary Poets Brigade and some of the events that Karen referred to inspired the poem I'm about to read. So as I frame it, I think it's important to say some of those things about reaching a positive, mature voice. And this beautiful anthology that our four magnificent, I hope that isn't, oh, that may be mirrored in the magic of the video, but it's such a beautiful anthology. I think it shows the unity and diversity that is one of the goals of universal humanism and the whole effort of the brigade since it started. So the poem, as I frame it, is inspired by that tradition, because what happened was that one of our brigadistas, the renowned musical performer, Jonathan Richman, who has performed with the brigade with translations of Pasolini's poetry as well as his own, he gave a poetry performance about live music and supporting live music venues and live musicians in the Bay Area. And he read a poem at the beginning of the pandemic, which was so heartfelt and so mystical that it inspired this poem, because what he was doing was he was talking about people coming together. And here we have this new anthology, not about overthrowing capitalism, but about building socialism. And it was Jonathan, who, if you don't know his work, he's a sweet, mystical, Bob Dylan-ish, Spanish guitar-ish, Leonard Cohen-ish type of performer with a very, very sweet spirit. So it was his poem that inspired this. And it's titled A Song for Debs, referring to Eugene V. Debs, the legendary socialist and political figure and philosophical figure in the movement in American history, world history. A Song for Debs is a song for us. And the epigraph is from Debs, from 1905. Listen for just once to the throbbing of your own heart, and you will hear that it is beating quick-step marches to Camp Freedom. And now the poem. Let's not lie. It's obvious. Fake money funds the game. Our jobs are gone. The world of work will never be the same. Our economic system now is looking really lame. Let's build a bridge to socialism in Eugene Debs's name. Perhaps our smooth musicians loathe the thought of looking lame, tame. Perhaps our politicians merely seek a greater fame. But here's a little tip for both. The public isn't lame. We're on our way to socialism in Eugene Debs's name. What fundamental sadness, buddy? The COVID makes it clear. The bosses lied, the masters cried, the slaves have lost their fear. It's obvious, pal, isn't it? The picture's in the frame. The fraud was undeniable long before the virus came. Don't worry, chum. We'll make it through. Forget about the blame. Next stop is coming. Socialism in Eugene Debs's name. Thank you all. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, John. Thank you very much. Sorry for the strained introduction, but I'm so happy to have been able to share something with you so loving and sweet and in the spirit of from the heart. And I want to compliment all the other poets here today. I'm deeply moved. Thank you.
Sorry, I got taken off the, I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, I can.
So I'm trying to find my way back to a Zoom to get in again. Okay. All right, I'm gonna try this.
I want to shout out while you're setting that up to those performers at the flower piano and the 12 pianos, Mauro Fortissimo, Charis Prema-Rodana, and Alison Lovejoy, and Dean Mermel, as I mentioned before. Conspiracy of Beards performed with me there. And I'm so glad, Karen, that you enjoyed it. Conspiracy of Beards, of course, of the Leonard Cohen Choir.
I played for it too. I played in all over all the pianos.
Yes, the public got to access
the
the botanical garden, so that the public was able to come. And then there were evening performances and daytime performances for a festival.
Okay, I am there, but I'm getting delays.
You're okay, Karen. There's no problem. I'm not having any problem with you.
Okay.
Your video and sound are coming through just fine.
Okay, but I'm having a problem with me.
But just
So okay,
ignore it.
It's very different now. It's come back on, but it's a different Zoom. Let me see. Can you hear me?
We can hear you fine.
Can you see me?
We can see you fine.
Okay, I am not live. Bobby Coleman. Oh my goodness, everything is totally delayed.
Can I help here in any way?
This is, I think you know what I am going to do? I'm getting 3 echoes. So I understand you, John. You are okay. I am not. Okay.
Echoes, but we can see you.
I am going to introduce Gregory Pond, and then I'm going to try to get back on. So Gregory Pond was born in Brooklyn to Panamanian parents. He's written 4 books of poetry, is a member of the Revolutionary Poets Brigade, and a facilitator in Poetically Speaking, a weekly conference call program for seniors. So I welcome you, Gregory, to the podium, and I'm going to go off and try to get on again. Thank you.
Well, thank you all. Thank you, Karen, John, Scott, and Jack for editing this wonderful anthology. And welcome fellow poets from around the world. My name is Greg Pond, and I'm going to read my poem, General Apathy. Comrades, it's time to unite, to fight a common enemy, marching under the command of an advancing General Apathy, who is more than happy to lead us towards inaction, relegate us to reacting instead of being proactive or tracking a better course. So much easier to resign from life when we're already so tired and only desire to be safe and secure. Why worry for lack of lock or key? if there's no curiosity of what lies behind the door? But how can we achieve any unity, fight the power, or feed the poor when we don't even seem to care that we don't care anymore? Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you. Beautiful. I always love that poem. We don't even care that we don't care anymore. That wonderful last line. Thank you so much. Always a delight to have you. What a wonderful group of poets we've got here. I'm moving on. If I don't see Diego De Leo, oh yes, I do. There you are. Hi, Diego. Diego De Leo is living his second life, he says, as a poet who began writing less than a decade ago and comes from Bari, Italy. So I love that. This is your second life, third life, fourth life. Let's have, how many do we have? 9 if we're kitty cats. Anyway, I welcome you, Diego. You're a wonderful part of our Revolutionary Poets Brigade, and I look forward to your poetry. Thank you.
Hello there. Thank you. I see you, but can you see me?
Oops. Yes, we can see you.
Oh, okay. This is my short poem.
Diego, do you have anything else on, like a smartphone or any kind of extra recording? Because we are getting a whistle.
Yeah, hold on. We're fixing. I'm with Jack here. Let's see what's going on here.
That sometimes happens if there's more than one computer or more than one device on. So any other devices except what you are working with maybe should be turned off.
Yes, they're working on it. Hold on.
Go ahead.
Okay. Building socialism. Can you hear me?
Yes, fine.
Building socialism, the call. We, the people of the world, the workers, the builders, the producers abused by the few, have reached the limit of tolerance. Let's organize in unison by billions in every continent, dedicate a day religiously as a major event against the abusers in power, who will feel the pulse of the people and concede or abandon ship. It is a tool that has been proven effective in the past, and we have the absolute right to use it or perish altogether. And we can definitely and absolutely say we will not let that happen. And now I have a poem in Italian written by Michele Licheri. First, I read in Italian, and then the translation by Italian Giovanni Romano. This is the Italian version. Corone. C'è chi ha cinto una corona di spine, perché il suo regno non era di questa terra, e che sul capo ne ha messo una d'oro e diamanti, ereditando un regno. Che costo ebbe la gloria? Venne il tempo degli atleti e degli artisti. Che gesta, che impresa di bellezza, cantando il presente e il futuro. Ci prese a correre, follemente correre, allontanandosi dalla realtà. Corone da loro furono per loro, lauti compensi e numerosi zero. Si delettò l'aria del desiderio a dismisura, spettacolarizzando il sogno e oscurando il vento. Si confuse il vivere con la smania di consumare e la coscienza fu sistemata altrove. Quale meccanismo inclinò la vostra vita? Fu un parossismo collettivo. Con il coronavirus si declinò il maschile e il regale copricapo. Che corona? Stavolta poteva togliere il respiro. Un virus seminanza, rizzanda ed incertezza. Si dovevano riscrivere le regole dell'esistenza. And now I'll go for the English translation. Crowns. There was one who wore a crown of thorns because his kingdom wasn't from this world. A one who on his head put one made of gold and diamonds, inheriting a kingdom. What was the price of the glory? The time came from the athlete and the artist. What exploit, what beautiful feast, sing in the present time and the future. We started running, madly running, disanchoring from reality. Lovely hope, a crown were for them, lavish reward with numerous zero. This higher area was exaggerated, spectacularizing the dream and darkening the wind. We confused living with urge of consuming, and consciousness was placed elsewhere. What mechanism spoiled our life? It was a collective paroxysm. With the coronavirus, the Royal Mail had gear declined. The crown this time could have left us breathless. A virus sowed the discord and uncertainty. The rules of existence were to be rewritten. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Diego. The crown, yes, including the crown of thorns that we are faced with today. What a beautiful, and hearing that in Italian, that was really wonderful. Hearing about the coronavirus in Italian, corona, corone. Thank you so much for sharing that, Diego. And that was from Michele Licheri, who was born in Monsumano Termes, Toscana, and she is an international poet and author of poetic manifestos who lives now in Norbello on the island of Sardinia. So we're being very international and very Italian. I love it. Thanks. Thanks, Michele, wherever you are out there. And thank you, Diego. Are you here, Michele? I don't think so. No, but maybe you're on the webinar. I hope so. Anyway, Barbara Paschke, we move from one translator to another. Barbara Paschke, I love to call Barbara our translator extraordinaire. She is translating this time from the Spanish, and she is a member of the Revolutionary Poets Brigade and the Roque Dalton Cultural Brigade. Her most recent book is Left of the Heart, which is a tribute to Roque Dalton. So she will be reading a poem by Juan Goytisolo, Spanish poet, essayist, novelist, who lived in Marrakesh, Morocco, from 1997 until his death in 2017. He was awarded the Cervantes Prize in 2014, the most prestigious prize in the Spanish-speaking world. So, and then after that, she will read, wonderful Barbara Paschke, translator extraordinaire, will be reading from Nancy Morejon, one of the leading poets of Cuba, who lives in Havana, but often travels to the States and Europe, where she is most welcome as a poet, reader, and she's very famous. So we're going to be hearing poetry from both Goytisolo and Nancy Morejon. So Barbara, welcome.
Okay. This, I will first read for Juan Goytisolo. En este mismo instante hay un hombre que sufre, un hombre torturado tan solo por amar la libertad. Ignoro dónde vive, qué lengua habla, de qué color tiene la piel, cómo se llama, pero en este mismo instante, cuando tus ojos leen mi pequeño poema, ese hombre existe, grita, se puede oír su llanto de animal acosado, mientras muerde sus labios para no denunciar a los amigos. ¿Oyes? Un hombre solo grita maniatado, existe en algún sitio. ¿Y dicho solo? ¿No sientes, como yo, el dolor de su cuerpo repetido en el tuyo? ¿No te emana la sangre bajo los golpes ciegos? Nadie está solo. Ahora, en este mismo instante, también a ti y a mí nos tienen maniatados. At this very moment, there's a man who is suffering, a man tortured for nothing more than loving freedom. I don't know where he lives, what language he speaks, the color of his skin, his name, but at this very moment, as your eyes read my little poem, that man exists, screams. One can hear him cry out like a hunted animal while he bites his lip to not betray his friends. Do you hear? Hands tied, a man alone cries out. He exists somewhere. I said alone? Don't you feel like I do the pain in his body repeated in yours? Doesn't your blood gush from the senseless blows? No one is alone. Now, at this very moment, it's the same for you and me. They have tied our hands. So, moving on, this is not my translation, but I'm reading it for the translator. And this is, all these poems are very contemporary. This is by Nancy Morejon, Cuba, and it's called Príncipe Negro para George Floyd. Aunque su sueño era lanzarte al Mississippi, aquel caníbal de uniforme opaco ha quemado en silencio su rodilla sobre tu cuello inerte. El humo de tu carne va subiendo hasta el cielo mojado, saltando entre las flores. El aire de tus bronquios persigue tu fantasma hasta morder el colmillo sangriento del caníbal. Y tú alientas indómito sobre el asfalto húmedo bajo la sombra quieta de un manzano en Minneapolis, donde colocaremos para ti este brillante, este limpio príncipe negro nuestro a tu memoria. So this is a translation by Ana Elena de Arazosa. A black prince rose for George Floyd. Though he wanted to throw you in the Mississippi, the cannibal in the murky uniform with his knee has scorched into silence your motionless throat. The smoke of your flesh ascends to a wet heavens. Hopping among the flowers, your breath chases his ghost and manages to bite the bloody fang of the cannibal. But you inspire, indomitable, lying on the wet asphalt under the quiet shade of an apple tree in Minneapolis, where we will place for you this shining, clean, black Prince Rose of ours to your memory.
Oh, thank you so much. I love that beauty and cruelty, the black rose. And I loved also the ghost chases, your breath chases his ghost. What a wonderful vision. Thank you so much for both of the great poets. Feel very honored to hear that work. Thank you. And I was corrected back there, Michele Licheri, who was born in Mansumano. We heard his work, and I want to make sure that I corrected that gender. Alberto Masala translated his own poetry into English, and I want to see, yes, where is Mr. Masala? Are you there? I sometimes don't see the little people and the big people.
That's Mauro.
Pardon? This would be Alberto Masala.
I think Mauro Fortissimo is going to read it.
Oh, Mauro Fortissimo will be reading that. Okay, then let me just give a little bio on Mr. Masala. He is a Sardinian who has translated his own poetry and who believes that poetry cannot speak about freedom, but to be deeply ethical must speak of liberation. And he lives in Bologna. So Mauro, delighted to have you come up and read the work of Alberto Masala. Thank you. Mauro, are you still here?
I don't think he's here.
Okay, so sorry about that. Maybe he lost his electricity. Well, maybe we can get Mr. Masalo's poem read at a forthcoming anthology reading. So the next would be Arnoldo Garcia, a revolutionary Mexican-rooted poet and a combative community organizer for justice and healing. He lives, as he says, as an uninvited guest on Ohlone land. So Arnoldo, Mr. Garcia?
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. And I do want to thank first the Ohlone people. I'm in Oakland, which is Wichin. And we all, at least in Oakland, we're all uninvited guests. And I want to thank them very deeply from my heart for letting us be here today. Next, I want to thank the editors, Jack Hirschman, Karen Melander-Magoon, Scott Bird, and Giancarlo for putting this together. And I really appreciate this opportunity to be able to share my words with you all. In the chat, I'm going to drop some information for you all. If you want to stay in touch, if you want to check out more poetry, if you want to send a poem to be put in the Art of the Communal website that's on there. I really appreciate this opportunity to speak with you all directly. So I'm reading a poem that's in the anthology. It's called Prisoner, Preface to the Abolition of My Family. And this is a poem in a series of 120 poems that were written for one of my family members who was incarcerated. And this is literally the preface. I have no country, no passport, no birth certificate, no maps, no language, no mother, no father, no brother, no sister, no grandfather, no grandmother, no roots, no shadows, no sons, no land, no house, no breath, no lungs, no mind, no body, no spirits, no people to claim me. Nowhere to plant and unearth the placentas of my explosive fists. Nowhere, no land, no horizon, no dreams to call my ancestors from. My ancestors are lost in the dusty winds, in the turmoil of the ocean waves, in the graffiti of prison cells. My ancestors are lost in the nameless songs I howl in the bed of my nights, in the walls that split the atom of my existence, in the shut up body of my other selves. My ancestors are lost in the unmarked graves of seas, plains, mountains, deserts, fields, and cities. My ancestors are lost in the Nazca lines of my palms, in the fossil fuel bones of migrant campesino indios. My ancestors are lost in the liver of my anguish, in the salmon's belly up in the drought-filled rivers, in the burial grounds under the parking lots of malls, in the ruins everywhere wrought by black and red serpent clouds. My ancestors are lost in the evanescent rings of trees crackling in the firestorms of capitalism. My ancestors are lost in the muted cries of the last matriarch dying of cancer. My ancestors are lost in the terror of drowning in a hospital of bed. I know the smooth barrel of guns. I know the uncertainty of my rage, the feverish high of neutron drugs. I know the other bodies that ignite my own. I know the wounds that serrate my skin. I know the clandestine tears, the grunting police, the razor wires, the crazed inmates who give death and metes out precarious existences. Who forgets me, who remembers me, who cuts me up, who erases me, words that have no pages to call their own. I know my body that belongs to the wardens and the landlords. I know my body that has been crushed under by tanks. I know my body that has been foreclosed in the womb. I know my body that can be handcuffed on any corner of any day, that can be indicted by any shade of white, by any tone of white, by any discomfort of white. I am all the colors. I am the rainbow machete harvesting the rains. I am scapegoat and virus of love. I am no one more important than a landless Indio. I am the promise of a storm, a hurricane, the tenderness of the longest day of labor. I am the unread, the unwritten, the undocumented, the underground story, toppling our own frustrations and outrage. I am turning to the calm before the clenched fist and the quilt of my embrace. I am nomadic homeland, horizon maker. I am carrying my dead and my living from grave to grave, from sunrise to sunset, from laughter to rage, from gasps of grayness to the carmine flows of the unending kiss. I am an abandoned son. I am an abandoned son. I have no country, no grandfather, no grandmother, no roots, no shadows, no body, no spirits, no people to claim me.
Thank you so much, Arnoldo. Yes, no roots, no shadows, no sons, no people to claim me. No ancestors lost under parking malls. Underground story, nomadic homeland. Those are just some of the phrases I take from your poetry, and very powerful. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So we are winding up here. We have Luis Felipe Sarmento, born in Lisbon. His books are distributed in 13 countries. He is Portugal's coordinator for the World Poetry Movement. And Luis Felipe Sarmento, I think I saw you earlier. Are you there? Yes,
okay.
Hi. I unmute.
Okay. Thank you. It's a great honor for me to have been invited to an anthology of this dimension. I want to thank Jack Ishman and Agneta Falk very much for inviting me present among you. Thank you very much. My poem, I read my poem in Portuguese, in my beautiful language, and then I think Patricia reads in English. Thank you. Se digo mãe, digo Itália. Se digo avó, digo ilha. Se digo bisavô, digo Galiza. Se digo trisavô, digo França. Tetravô na Grécia, outro em Damasco. Perdido na Índia cigana, outra nas ruas da Palestina. Se chegar aos 10º avós, sou de todos os lugares. vem de todas as origens, concebido em todas as religiões. Venho de um pirata e seguramente de uma puta, de uma arajá e de uma cortesã, uma geixa e um traficante de sedas, uma amazona das estepes e um boiardo, um vizir e uma poeta. Família de assaltantes nos idos dos avós 12, marinheiros das Austrálias, perdidos nos infernos de ser gente do mundo e no mundo parental, chego depois de várias incidências a esta Lisboa remodelada. Namoraria um primo, outro no Cartier, uma prima no Magreb, outra em Moscovo e mais uma no Congo e milhares no Brasil. O meu ADN é o mundo, as minhas células do universo. Sou um homem feito de mulheres em verso. Nas minhas veias há um refugiado profundo. Afinal, onde está o meu berço? Thank you.
That is so beautiful. Ah, that is music. My goodness, beautifully, beautifully read. And now Patricia Donnelly will be reading the English translation of Humberto Freitas. And we look forward to hearing you, Patricia.
Okay, it's an honor to read this beautiful poem to close today's session. I am a man born of women in verse. If I say mother, I mean Italy. If I say grandmother, I mean an island. If I say great-grandfather, I mean Galicia. If I say great-grandmother, I mean France. One great-great-grandfather in Greece, another in Damascus. One a gypsy lost in India, another in the streets of Palestine. If I reach to the 10th grandparents, I'll be from everywhere. I have my origins everywhere, conceived in all religions. I come from a pirate and surely from a whore, from a Maharaja and from a courtesan, a geisha, and from a dealer in silks, from an Amazoness of the steppes and a boyar, a vizier, and a poet, from a family of robbers in times long ago, Australian sailors, lost in hell for being people of the world, a parental world. Then I come from various coincidences to this reformed Lisbon. At Morejon, a cousin, another in the Courtier, a female cousin in Maghreb, another in Moscow, and yet another in the Congo. Thousands in Brazil. My DNA is the world. My cells are the universe. I am a man born by women in verse. In my veins lives a profound refugee. I ask, where is the crib of my birth?
Beautiful. And what a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful way to end our little sojourn today into poetry. Our origins are everywhere and everything. The robber, the whore, the pirate, the voyeur, the poet, from Maghreb, Congo, Brazil, Lisbon, you know, from everywhere and everything and every word and every art. What a wonderful, wonderful way to end. Thank you so much, Patricia and Luis, for closing out this poetry session. I want to thank John Curl, who is actually our major editor for the anthology itself, and for hosting our get-together today and making sure everything ran smoothly. For Lisbeth, who's co-hosting. For Scott Bird, who was also one of the editors along with me. And just very grateful that this whole Building Socialism came together to offer such a wonderful voice as we have heard today of great poets. I noticed Jack Hirschman is part of our group, and I would call on him, if you're there, to give us a few last inspiring words, if you would. Jack?
I'm pleased Yes, I'm pleased to have heard all the wonderful poetry that you've all read in the many languages, and know that next week there will be another one, another event on the next Thursday at 11 a.m. in San Francisco time. But truly, it's been a marvelous experience, and I'm very pleased because the anthology, which we all, the 4 editors, really, really treasure and loved working to create, has been expressed in your beautiful readings today.
Thank you so much, Jack. Yes, I read, I'm not sure, it came in a little bit later, didn't hear the prefatory was written by Jack, who was our major, the major inspiration of all of the anthologies which we have done, obviously including this, and has invited so many wonderful poets to join us through the World Poetry Movement. It's been an honor to have poets from Lisbon, poets from, you know, various parts of the world. It's just makes it so special. That whole idea that was expressed of our being nomads with no homeland. And I think that's very true of most poets, is somehow you although we feel honored to be rooted in a homeland, we also feel in a way rooted into the world and feel very nomadic in our poetic existence. And I think the Building Socialism anthology certainly reflects that, that aspect of the wanderer. So I want to thank all of you for wandering into.
If I may say another word.
Yes, of course, Jack.
There's a couple of things I would just like to mention. That this Spanish, of the Alconada poem, the Spanish was read by Marcelo Holot, who is in Argentina, and also I'm very pleased that I asked. I had a good intuition. I'm very pleased with that to ask Patricia Donnelly to read, because she read Luis Felipe Sarmento's poetry with absolute brilliance.
Yes, that was excellent.
Jack. Thank you for inviting me to do it.
That's wonderful. And thank you, Marcelo.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you.
For getting, I know there were some problems in your getting through here, so I'm glad that you were able to participate.
Hey,
thank you.
Luis.
Thank you again to all of you, and Agneta. I see you popping in every once in a while. I know you've got 3 people involved.
Technical support.
Yeah. Well, we're always delighted to have you around, and I know Diego was there, so you're a trio of some kind. So anyway, again, thank you to all of you, to the voices that come together as one voice for justice and for peace and for art, and for an amalgam of language and cultures and ideas that will make this world great again. I hate using that term, but will bring us together with a voice that can express all of the pain and the anguish and the joy of our world. We really need that, particularly now in this strange, strange time. So to all of you, as we make leave of each other, blessings, merhaba, and be safe, be well, and keep writing beautiful poetry. Thank you so much, all of you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.